Hello my friends, my name is Rich and welcome to Greatest Rock and Metal. On Greatest Rock and Metal I talk about what are for me the greatest bands, albums, gigs of all time based on listening to thousands of albums and going to hundreds of gigs over many years. Please press the red button to subscribe to the channel. It's free, it's easy to do and it won't take very long. Thank you very much. Today I am going to look back and celebrate the 50th anniversary of this amazing album, Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. The 50th anniversary was just a few days ago because in 1971, on the 21st of July, this album was released. And I was going to do a review of this on the actual day, the 50th anniversary day, but I've been waiting for this to arrive, and I'll talk more about this in a few moments. But first, a little bit about of history. My history first with the band. If you look back at a previous episode, you'll find out that my introduction to Black Sabbath actually came with the Heaven and Hell album, which featured Ronnie James Dio. And at that time I was a young lad and I had no idea about Sabbath's previous history to that with the singer Ozzy Osbourne. And it was only later as I delved more into this band Black Sabbath, which were new to me way back in 1980, that I started to find out about the history they had with Ozzy. Black Sabbath formed in Birmingham, England way back in 1968. Tony Iommi on guitar, Ozzy Osbourne vocals, Geezer Butler bass, and Bill Ward on drums. The iconic Black Sabbath lineup, of which there have been many Black Sabbath lineups. They released two amazing albums in very quick succession to start off their career, and not long after those two albums, which were very successful, we got Master of Reality. In fact, their first 6 studio albums are considered classics, and rightly so. But unfortunately, the success started to go to their head, drugs and alcohol intervene, and by 1979, Ozzy has been sacked after 2 relatively poor more studio albums with Ozzy. So like I say, they then recruited Ronnie James Dio and did a couple of studio albums with him, and then it was a massive revolving lineup of members, the only consistent member being Tony Iommi for many years, until 1997 and the reunion of the original 4. The reunion took place where it all started, back in Birmingham, England, and what an incredible reunion it was. And they played together sporadically after that, Ozzy splitting duties between Black Sabbath and his very successful solo career. In 2001 they tried to make a new studio album, their first since way back. But in the end, Ozzy gave up on it and went back to his solo career. And not long after that, Iommi and Butler got back together with Appice and Dio, and they couldn't take the Black Sabbath name this time, so they recorded under the moniker Heaven and Hell. Look back at a previous episode for more on that. But finally, in 2013, they produced the album 13, but not the full original lineup. They brought in Brad Wilk on drums, the Rage Against the Machine drummer. Very sadly, Bill Ward wasn't involved in this financial issues, and he wasn't involved in any subsequent tours either. And then 2016, they announced that it was all going to be over. They were going to embark on the End tour, and in February 2017 they played what is probably going to be their last live gig together, again back at where it all started in Birmingham in England. So that's a bit of a history of the Aussie eras of Black Sabbath. Now, more about this album. So, as I say, the 50th anniversary of this album this month, and so the record company has released a vinyl 50th anniversary edition. It was released for a Record Store Day, and what a beauty it is. It reproduces completely the original vinyl version with the embossed feel to the cover, and the lyrics printed on the back cover. And what I love about this as well, this is the only vinyl version I've seen, single vinyl version I've seen, where it's kind of like a mini box, so to speak. I don't know what you would call it, or an envelope even. And you flip it open, and then inside you have the album itself. In this, this was the logo for the Vertigo label, which they were on at this time, and there is a reproduction of the poster that was in the original album itself. Very spooky looking poster there of the band in the forest, and kind of replicates a little bit the front cover of their debut album, yeah, where they had the woman in the forest in the debut album. And then we have the vinyl itself, which has been pressed onto a magnificent purple vinyl. That looks great when you put it on your turntable, believe you me, and play it. Looks really mesmerizing as it goes round and round. So there you have a purple vinyl to match the purple on the Black Sabbath logo. For some reason, the Black Sabbath logo hasn't been very consistent over the years in its appearance. Even if you look at these three official t-shirts here, we've got the Master of Reality logo, we've got a Black Sabbath logo here that's changed again, the typeface, and then this is from 2012, changed again. I don't know why they mess around with the logo so much. Normally when it comes to logos, bands kind of keep the same look all the time. For me, this purple logo is the best one. It's the one that represents Black Sabbath for me. So, this album was produced by a guy named Roger Bain, who was one of the heavy metal producers at this particular time, and he's also done work with Judas Priest and a Welsh band called Budgie. And the production is awesome. It sounds great. Even today, all the 50 years later, it still sounds fantastic. And that's one of the things about some of these classic rock and metal bands. They've been able to create a sound that even 50, 40, 30 years later, you put it on and it doesn't feel dated. Okay, some bands' albums do, but some of these classics, that is just the Sabbath sound that has lived through the ages. And what was interesting about the sound on this album is that it took them even heavier than the two studio albums before it, the debut album Black Sabbath and Paranoid. Iommi tuned down his and Geezer tuned down their guitars even more, and you've got a really heavy, doomy sound. And in fact, most of the songs here are very, very slower paced songs, but they just sound absolutely fantastic. And well, I always pick my favorite 4 tracks from an album. Now, there's 8 tracks on this album, 2 of them are instrumentals, so it kind of only really leaves 6 tracks to go from. And it's just a classic front to back anyway. But I am going to tell you what my favorite 4 tracks are on here. It's a very short album, it only clocks in at over just over 30 minutes, but it's a great album at that. But before I give you my favorite 4, let's take a look at Rock T-Shirts by the Sea. So, onto my favourite 4 tracks from the album. And it starts with the first track and the famous yes, the album starts with a cough. Tony Iommi coughing after he'd started smoking a giant marijuana joint in the studio, and it just so happened they were recording at the time, so they recorded the cough. And as the song Sweet Leaf that kicks off the album is about smoking marijuana, why not start it off with someone smoking marijuana? And it's got a great Iommi riff, a massive riff, which really sets the tone for the rest of this album, because that's what it is. Riff after riff after motherfucking riff, to quote the Wild Hearts, I believe that is. So, what a great way to start an album. It's a very, very famous Sabbath song, and rightly so. Stunning musicianship on it as well. You got flurries of drum fills all over the place, bass riffs, and a great Iommi solo. The next track I would choose is the song After Forever. Once again, another awesome riff starts off the song, which then switches into a second awesome riff. And we're into a great vocal and melody from Ozzy on this song. A song that actually goes against the image that's been portrayed by their previous albums and by the band name. They kind of got this image of being Satan worshippers. But actually, if you read the lyrics to this song, it's kind of talking about maybe having a belief in God, and not to just discount those that believe in religion. The next track I will choose is Children of the Grave. What can I say? Another amazing Iommi riff. It is impossible not to bang your head along to this one and jump along. Got a fantastic rhythm to it, really fantastic rhythm. Once again, Bill Ward and Geezer Butler, the rhythm section is just phenomenal on this album. It really, really is. And I always think of this song as like what should be Greta Thunberg's anthem. You know, the kid who's into the environment and always appearing at these environmental conferences, because this song is written about kids taking control of our destiny, you know, because as adults aren't doing it, so we're going to need the kids to take control and save the planet. And 50 years on, no one's taking a blind bit of notice, are they? And you could say that about the next song as well. Into the Void. What an Iommi riff on this one. And the riff at the beginning of the song just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating, and it seems like it's going nowhere. And then at about 1 minute 15 seconds, all of a sudden we get another riff, and we're into a slight change of pace and off and running into the song. which again is talking about destroying our planet and how we're doing nothing about it, and 50 years on we're still destroying our planet and we're still doing nothing about it. But there you go, some things never change, and the quality of this album 50 years on has not changed either. A brilliant, brilliant album throughout. Next, I want to mention one of my favourite times seeing Sabbath live. In fact, my favourite time seeing Sabbath live. I've seen them a few times, but this was the first time I got to see them with that original lineup, and it was for the reunion tour. I was at the first ever reunion gig at the NEC in Birmingham, England, on the 4th of December 1997. What a gig! What a gig! Ozzy returning for the first time since 1985. Now, I said earlier that he left in 1979, but there was this little concert that was played around the world called Live Aid in 1985, and Sabbath were persuaded to get back together for a short set at Live Aid, but this was, they're back in business together, and what great business it was. They played 2 nights here. I went to the first night, the opening night. It was phenomenal. If there was any nerves within the band, they certainly didn't show it. They were very, very well rehearsed. Ozzy, who can have dodgy vocal nights, was on fine form, both as a vocalist and, of course, the amazing frontman he is. Without a doubt, one of the best frontmen in rock and metal there has ever been. Not necessarily the greatest vocalist, although I absolutely love his vocal style. I really do, both with Sabbath and with his solo stuff. They played a lot of tracks that night. They played 18 tracks in all, the majority of them coming from Master of Reality and the album that came before that, Paranoid. But they did throw in 3 tracks from the debut album. We got NIB, the title track Black Sabbath, of course, and also Behind the Wall of Sleep. We didn't get anything from Sabotage or Never Say Die albums, but cannot complain at the set list at all. It was a fantastic set list, a fantastic gig, and the atmosphere as well was unbelievable in there. I mean, there was so much pent-up energy waiting for the band to come on, with the excitement of them being back together. And when they kicked the whole gig off with War Pigs, unbelievable. What a perfect opener War Pigs is, because you got the great sing-along start to the song, and everyone can get right into the gig right from the off. And of course, they finished with Paranoid. A gig I will never ever forget. It really was up there with some of my favourite ever gigs. And that's it. That's my thoughts on the 50th anniversary of Master of Reality. Thank you very much for watching. Please press the red button to subscribe to the channel. It's free, it's easy to do, and as always, remember, we rock! Regular viewers to Greatest Rock and Metal will know I usually show my gig ticket, but for some reason I forgot this episode. So here it is. And look at the bargain price. £18.50 to see Sabbath. Okay, it was, what, 24 years ago now? But wow, what a bargain. And as you see, Fear Factory supporting. Cheers, everybody.